Tax pros need to fiercely guard their time. They need to be gatekeepers to prevent against unpaid interactions. And I get all sorts of walk-ins because I have a retail storefront. So I'm in a shopping center. I have people walking into my office asking tax questions. I get phone calls of people that find my tax firm online. And very quickly, I need to determine whether or not this is going to be a client, and if so, what sort of client they're going to be, to minimize unpaid interactions. Of course, this has all been learned through trial and error, just because, again, I've had so many interactions with people that have walked in or just called my office, and I don't want it to turn into a free tax planning consultation. So what I do is I have this system, this standard operating procedure. Of course, hopefully this inspires you to have your own. But when a taxpayer inquires, maybe they walk in, commonly someone will walk in my office, or they'll call and they'll say, hey, I have a tax question. All right. And so I'll listen to the tax question, maybe ask some questions of my own to get an idea of their scenario. And this needs to happen in less than 10 minutes. That's my cutoff. So in my head, I'm thinking, all right, we keep it general, just some general ideas about what they have going on. Now, first, I'm determining whether or not they're actually going to be a client. And maybe they need some sort of specialist and I'll need to refer them out, or maybe they just are very budget friendly. And so I'm transparent and upfront about my pricing. I tell them that I'm not the cheapest outfit in town. I let them know about my pricing as soon as possible to save us both time. And for those that are budget friendly, I usually have some options that I'll give them. I'll tell them to go to freetaxusa.com or maybe the service of the library. I don't want them to leave empty-handed. So even people that aren't going to become a client, I often try to give them a couple ideas, some parting wisdom to help them resolve their tax scenario or find an inexpensive way to file themselves. And interestingly enough, I've had 5-star reviews left by people that weren't actually tax clients. They were just people that came, we talked for a little bit, I gave them some ideas, I referred them to some websites where they can do their taxes for very, very inexpensively. And they've appreciated it so much that they have left reviews online or referred me clients. So it's always good to not leave someone empty-handed that's not a client. And for those that actually are going to become a client, I'm thinking in my head whether or not they are ready to actually file a return. Because if they claim to have all their paperwork in order, operative word claim, because sometimes, as we both know, they won't have their paperwork in order. They think they will, but when you go to prepare their taxes, you realize that they actually need help, maybe bookkeeping. But generally speaking, if they're ready to prepare I'm ready to prepare their return, I'll send them an engagement letter and get started with the preparation. So we go there to preparation. For everyone else that isn't ready for me to prepare their taxes, they need to do a paid consultation. And what I do is I send an engagement letter and I send an invitation to 1-900 where they can confirm the appointment, but also enter their credit card for 2 reasons. Number one is I want their credit card to be on file. Now, of course, you don't have to do this. You can do your own invoice. You can send them an invoice in the mail. You can do layaway tax consultation. I mean, however you want to run your own business, that's your business. But I personally like to have a card on file for tax planning because number one, it makes it more serious for them. They realize that this is a serious conversation. They're paying for it. And this isn't something where they can just wander in and chit chat and then act shocked if they get an invoice in the mail because we spent 20 minutes talking about their weather or something, some personal thing that they brought up. So I like to have a card on file. Also for billing, it automates it because I can just hit start. It's going to start running the clock, billing them accordingly. I hit stop. It automatically sends them an invoice, charges a card, deposits to my account. There's zero thinking needed when it comes to collection and invoicing and receipts and all that nonsense. So I use that, whatever it is, bill for that consultation. Okay. Now, by the way, in the past, and I've seen that some tax pros will charge something for initial consultation and then they'll apply half of that to the return. I used to do that and I stopped because there were so many tax returns I did that were so complex and were such a headache. And I felt my pricing was fair to begin with. And to apply a credit of something that I already did, a consultation where we're doing tax planning and I'm doing tax research, to take money that for work that I did and apply it toward more work that I did as a credit, no way. I thought that was terrible. It left me with a really bad feeling. I don't think clients care that much if they're actually getting proper tax work done by you. So there's no need to discount your services in that case. So I ceased doing that, and I've had zero issue with doing it. I'm totally against applying a credit of something that you've already billed for work that you've done toward more work you're doing. I think it's ridiculous. But again, everyone can run their own business their own way. And then I'll send the client to bookkeeping if they need bookkeeping work. Sometimes after consultation, people realize that they need help. They have an ongoing business that they're totally unorganized with and they need a bookkeeper. So that's why I have bookkeeping down here. But once they're done with the tax planning and bookkeeping to get cleaned up, then they go over to prep. You do their tax preparation. After their taxes are filed, of course, ideally they do tax planning so that it's not a total mess when they show up for the next tax year and they have no idea on why they owe so much. So, of course, tax planning, again, 1-900, just my personal preference. And then for tax planning, I use Forager Tax Planner, which is what I created a tax proposal and projection software where you can go in and you can run a projection for the client, and then you can also enter different tax strategies and then do a side-by-side comparison of a before and after of their projection versus what they could have if they implement tax strategies. You can try it for free. Of course, I'm promoting that, just letting you know. I mean, you don't have to use that. Use whatever tax planning software you like, but that's something I built for myself. And you can try it for free. So it's worth checking out. Anyway, this is the flow chart. This is my standard operating procedure. And hopefully it inspires you to gatekeep your time and put a paywall up so you're not doing a bunch of work for free, because that's no good for anyone. Hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching.